Rain pounded the darkened windows of the HOA president's palatial estate as Karen Wilkins paced the floor, her steely gaze fixed on the flickering security feed. Something was off. She could feel it in her bones. The usual late-night stillness had been shattered by the distinct sound of movement outside, a furtive rustling that immediately set her nerves on edge. Gripping the tablet in her manicured hands, Karen zoomed in on the camera train on her front lawn, her pulse quickening at the sight of a shadowy figure crouched near the meticulously trimmed hedges. Asterisk, who dares to trespass on my domain? Asterisk, she thought, jaw clenching with barely contained fury. Snatching up the intercom, she barked orders to her security team, dispatching them to apprehend the intruder. But as the minutes ticked by, no updates came. Only an ominous silence that sent a chill down her spine. Abandoning the camera feed, Karen strode towards the front door, determined to confront the trespasser herself. The moment she stepped outside, however, a movement in her peripheral vision made her freeze. There, on the neatly manicured lawn, stood a lone figure holding a sign that glinted ominously in the streetlights. Asterisk, asterisk, C REQIRED asterisk, asterisk, it proclaimed in bold, defiant letters. Karen's blood ran cold as she realized the implications. This was no mere trespasser. This was a challenge, a direct assault on her authority. Gripping the doorframe, she scanned the shadows, searching for any sign of the culprit, but the figure had vanished, leaving only the sign as a haunting reminder of its presence. Retreating back inside, Karen's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of this blatant act of defiance. Asterisk, who would dare to defy me, the all-powerful HOA president? And how dare they mock my authority with this absurd display? Asterisk. Summoning her legal team, Karen barked orders, her voice laced with a mixture of fury and desperation. She would not be made a fool of, not in her own domain. This trespasser would pay and pay dearly for daring to challenge her iron-fisted rule over the neighborhood. As the hours ticked by, the legal team scrambled to find a means to strike back, scouring bylaws and codes for any loophole that could be exploited. But each avenue seemed to lead to a dead end, frustrating Karen's relentless quest for vengeance. It was then that a single chilling realization dawned on her. Asterisk, this was no mere prank or act of vandalism. This was a calculated, deliberate assault on my authority, and whoever is behind it, they know the system better than I do. Asterisk. The thought sent a shiver down her spine, and Karen knew that she was facing an adversary unlike any she had encountered before. This was no longer just a matter of restoring her dominance. It was a battle for the very soul of the HOA, a high-stakes power struggle that would test the limits of her cunning and resolve. As the first faint glimmers of dawn began to peek through the curtains, Karen steeled herself for the fight of her life. She would not be defeated, not by some upstart challenger who dared to defy her. This was her kingdom, her domain, and she would do whatever it took to protect it. The stage was set, the battle lines drawn. The question now was who would emerge victorious in this war of wills. As the sun rose over the carefully manicured lawns of the exclusive Willow Ridge estates, Karen Wilkins paced her study, a storm of emotions brewing within her. The audacity of the trespasser, the sheer gall of the silence-required sign had shaken her to the core. Asterisk, no one asterisk challenged her authority in this neighborhood, not on her watch. She was the HOA president, the undisputed ruler of this domain, and she would be damned if she let some uppity homeowner usurp her power. Summoning her legal team once more, Karen laid out her battle plan, her eyes narrowing with determination. I want a comprehensive review of every single bylaw, code, and regulation in this community, she ordered, her voice sharp and unyielding. Leave no stone unturned. I need to find a way to crush this insolent challenge to my authority. The lawyers exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the dangerous edge in their client's tone. They knew better than to cross Karen Wilkins, especially when she was in this kind of mood. Nodding in silent acquiescence, they set to work, their fingers flying across keyboards as they delved into the labyrinth of legal documents that governed the Willow Ridge estates. Hours turned into days as the team pored over the fine print, scouring for any loophole or technicality that could be exploited. Karen, meanwhile, kept a vigilant watch over the security feeds, her gaze scanning the streets for any sign of the mysterious trespasser. But the culprit remained elusive, leaving only the ominous silence-required sign as a taunting reminder of the challenge that had been issued. Frustration mounted, and Karen's temper began to fray. She lashed out at her staff, demanding faster results, more aggressive tactics. The lawyers, sensing the walls closing in, redoubled their efforts, their brows furrowed in concentration. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, one of the team members approached Karen with a triumphant gleam in her eyes. I think we found something, she said, her voice tense with anticipation. Karen listened intently as the lawyer laid out her discovery, a little-known bylaw buried deep within the community's covenants. According to the provision, any homeowner found to be disrupting the peaceful enjoyment of the neighborhood could be subject to fines, liens, or even eviction. And the silence required sign? Karen asked, her lips curling into a cold, predatory smile. It's a clear violation, the lawyer replied, a hint of trepidation in her voice. We can use this to go after the homeowner, hit them with heavy fines, and even pursue legal action to have them removed from the community. Karen nodded, her mind already racing with the possibilities. This was exactly the weapon she needed to crush the insolent challenger and reassert her dominance. With a flick of her wrist, she dismissed the lawyer, already formulating her next move. Striding to the window, she gazed out at the pristine streets of Willow Ridge Estates, a glimmer of triumph in her eyes. Soon, the impudent fool who dared to cross me will be dealt with. She thought. And my reign as Homeowner president will be secure once more. But even as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the neighborhood, Karen couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this was not the end of the battle. There was something about her adversary, some elusive quality that set them apart from the usual troublemakers she had dealt with in the past. This was no mere act of rebellion, no simple challenge to her authority. No, this was a carefully calculated move, one that suggested a level of strategic thinking that had caught Karen off guard. As the first stars began to twinkle in the evening sky, Karen Wilkins steeled herself for the fight of her life. She would not be outsmarted, not in her own domain. This was her kingdom, and she would do whatever it took to ensure that no one, not even the most cunning of challengers, would ever dare to usurp her throne. The air was thick with tension as Karen Wilkins strode through the dimly lit streets of Willow Ridge Estates, her gaze sweeping the shadows for any sign of the elusive trespasser. The sun had long since set, and the neighborhood had fallen into an eerie silence, save for the faint hum of security cameras and the occasional rustling of leaves. Gripping the tablet in her hands, Karen studied the live feed from the network of surveillance cameras that blanketed the community, her eyes narrowed in concentration. Where are you, you insolent fool? She thought, her jaw clenching with barely contained fury. Suddenly, a movement on the screen caught her eye, and she leaned in closer, her heart pounding. There, near the neatly trimmed hedges of the Wilsons' residence, was a figure, the same shadowy silhouette she had glimpsed the previous night. Without hesitation, Karen barked orders into the intercom, sending her security team to apprehend the intruder. This time they won't escape. She thought, a triumphant smile playing on her lips. But as the minutes ticked by and the security team reported back with nothing but silence, Karen's brow furrowed in frustration, her grip on the tablet tightening until her knuckles turned white. Incompetent fools. She seethed. How hard can it be to catch a single trespasser? Abandoning the camera feed, Karen decided to take matters into her own hands. Striding towards the front door, she thrust it open and stepped out into the night, her steely gaze sweeping the deserted streets. The silence required sign was gone, but the memory of its defiant message lingered, a taunting reminder of the challenge that had been issued. Karen's jaw tightened, her resolve hardening with each passing moment. I will not be mocked. She vowed. Not in my own domain. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye, and she whirled around to see a figure emerge from the shadows. It was a man, his face partially obscured by the darkness, but the set of his shoulders and the confident stride immediately set Karen on edge. Who are you? She demanded, her voice sharp and unyielding. What are you doing in my neighborhood? The man paused, his lips curving into a faint, almost mocking smile. Your neighborhood, he echoed, his voice soft and measured. I wasn't aware that Willow Ridge Estates was your personal fiefdom, Mrs. Wilkins. Karen's eyes narrowed, a simmering anger bubbling to the surface. How dare you, she hissed. This is my domain, and I will not tolerate any challengers to my authority. The man chuckled, a low, mirthless sound that sent a chill down Karen's spine. Your authority, he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Tell me, Mrs. Wilkins, how does it feel to be the one being challenged for a change? Karen opened her mouth to retort, but the man raised a hand, silencing her with a gesture. You see, I've had enough of your little games, your petty power plays, and your blatant disregard for the rights of the homeowners in this community. It's time for a change, and I'm here to make sure that change happens. Karen's blood ran cold, the realization dawning on her like a bucket of ice water. This was no mere trespasser, no random act of defiance. This was a calculated challenge, a direct assault on her very position as Homeowner president. You, she breathed, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and rage. You're the one who put up that sign, aren't you? The man's smile widened, his eyes gleaming with a dangerous intensity. Guilty as charged, he replied, his tone laced with a sense of triumph. And I'm just getting started. Karen's world shifted on its axis, the ground beneath her feet suddenly feeling unstable. She had never faced an adversary like this, one who seemed to know the system better than she did, one who was willing to play a game of high-stakes power politics. As the man turned and vanished back into the shadows, Karen Wilkins knew that she was in for the fight of her life. This was no longer just about restoring her dominance. It was a battle for the very soul of Willow Ridge Estates, and she was determined to emerge victorious, no matter the cost. The thunderous downpour echoed through the empty streets of Willow Ridge Estates, the rain drumming against the windows of Karen Wilkins' grand manor like a relentless heartbeat. But the sound was lost on the HOA president, her focus entirely consumed by the task at hand. Hunched over her desk, Karen pored over a stack of legal documents, her brow furrowed in concentration. The confrontation with the mysterious trespasser had left her rattled, her carefully constructed world suddenly thrown into disarray. Asterisk, who is he? Asterisk, she thought, her fingers tapping the pages with increasing frustration. Asterisk, how does he know the system better than I do? Asterisk. Beside her, the legal team worked feverishly, their keyboards clacking as they searched for any means to regain the upper hand. But with each passing hour, the sense of unease only grew, the shadow of the unknown adversary looming ever larger. Suddenly, one of the lawyers cleared his throat, drawing Karen's attention. "We may have found something," he said, his voice laced with a hint of trepidation. Karen straightened, her eyes narrowing. "Well, it'll keep me in suspense," she snapped, her patience wearing thin. The lawyer hesitated, his gaze flickering nervously. It's about the silence required," sighing, he began, his fingers fidgeting with the papers in his hands. "According to our research, the bylaw we initially thought we could use against the homeowner, it's not as clear-cut as we believed." Karen's heart sank, a familiar feeling of dread settling in the pit of her stomach. "Explain," she commanded, her voice low and dangerous. The lawyer swallowed hard, bracing himself for the inevitable onslaught. "The bylaw is vague and the legal precedents are mixed at best. We could try to pursue it, but the chances of success are slim, and it could open us up to a countersuit." Karen's grip on the desk tightened, her knuckles turning white. "So you're telling me," she said, her voice deceptively calm, "that we have no way to punish this insolent fool who dares to defy me?" The lawyer shifted uncomfortably, his gaze averted. "I'm afraid so, ma'am. The legal landscape is simply not in our favor on this one." Karen's jaw clenched, her fury threatening to boil over. She had never felt so powerless, so utterly out of control. This was asterisk her asterisk domain, asterisk her asterisk kingdom, and she refused to let some upstart challenger usurp her authority. Dismissing the lawyers with a wave of her hand, Karen paced the room, her mind racing. She had to find a way to strike back, to reassert her dominance and crush this challenge to her reign. Failure was not an option. Her very position as HOA president hung in the balance. As the rain continued to pelt the windows, Karen's eyes fell upon a framed photograph on the mantel, a family portrait that had once filled her with a sense of pride and accomplishment. But now, all she could see was the weakness, the vulnerability that had been exposed. Asterisk, no more asterisk, she vowed, her expression hardening with grim determination. Asterisk, he will not be made a fool of, not in my own domain, asterisk. Striding to the door, Karen grabbed her coat, her mind already whirring with a new plan of attack. If the law wouldn't serve her purposes, then she would have to find other means to bring this challenger to heel. The streets of Willow Ridge Estates were deserted as Karen stepped out into the storm, the rain lashing against her face. But she paid it no heed, her focus unwavering. Asterisk, this is my kingdom, asterisk, she thought, her eyes narrowing with a steely resolve, asterisk, and I will do whatever it takes to protect it, asterisk. With that, she set off, her footsteps echoing through the darkness as she embarked on a new and perilous mission, one that would test the limits of her cunning, her ruthlessness, and her determination to maintain her iron grip on the community she had sworn to control. The rain had long since subsided, but the air in Willow Ridge Estates remained thick with tension, a palpable sense of unease that clung to the shadows like a malevolent specter. Karen Wilkins, the formidable HOA president, had been dealt a crushing blow, her carefully constructed world thrown into disarray by the emergence of a mysterious challenger. With the legal avenues seemingly closed off, Karen had been forced to venture into uncharted territory, her mind whirring with a new plan of attack. Striding through the dimly lit streets, her gaze swept the shadows, searching for any sign of the elusive trespasser. Asterisk, he's out there, asterisk, she thought, her jaw clenching with barely contained fury, asterisk, and he's going to pay for daring to challenge me, asterisk. Reaching into her coat pocket, Karen's fingers closed around a small, sleek device, a high-tech surveillance camera that she had procured through less than scrupulous means. Carefully, she began to position it, strategically placing it to monitor the entrance to the neighborhood, a predatory smile playing on her lips. Asterisk, let's see how you like being watched, asterisk, she mused, her grip tightening on the camera. As the hours ticked by, Karen remained vigilant, her eyes glued to the live feed displayed on her tablet. She would not rest, not until she had identified the intruder and devised a plan to crush him once and for all. Suddenly, a flicker of movement on the screen caught her eye, and she leaned in, her heart pounding. There, near the entrance to the community, was the familiar silhouette, the same shadowy figure she had encountered the previous night. Without hesitation, Karen sprang into action, dispatching her security team to apprehend the trespasser. But as the minutes passed, the reports that filtered back to her were less than encouraging. "He's evaded us again, ma'am," one of the guards reported, his voice tinged with frustration. "We couldn't get close enough to identify him." Karen's grip on the tablet tightened, her knuckles turning white. Asterisk incompetent fools, asterisk she seethed, asterisk how hard can it be to catch a single intruder, asterisk. Dismissing the security team with a curt wave of her hand, Karen turned her attention back to the camera feed, her gaze narrowing as she watched the mysterious figure disappear into the night. Something about the way he moved, the way he seemed to anticipate their every move, struck a chord of unease within her. Asterisk, he's playing a game, asterisk, she realized, her mind racing, asterisk, and he's always one step ahead of us, asterisk. Determined to break the cycle of futility, Karen made a bold decision. Striding to her car, she gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles turning white. Asterisk, if I can't catch him, asterisk, she thought, asterisk, then I'll lure him out, asterisk. Driving through the streets of Willow Ridge Estates, Karen made a show of her presence, ensuring that her vehicle was visible to anyone who might be watching. She knew the risks, the potential for this plan to backfire, but she was willing to take that chance. Failure was not an option, not when her very position as Evaway president was at stake. As she parked her car and stepped out into the night, Karen scanned the shadows, her senses heightened, her nerves on edge. Asterisk, come out, wherever you are, asterisk, she thought, a predatory gleam in her eyes. The silence was deafening, the only sound the faint rustling of the leaves in the cool evening breeze. Karen waited, her heart pounding, her gaze sweeping the landscape for any sign of movement. Then suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, its outline barely visible in the gloom. Karen tensed, her hand instinctively reaching for the hidden weapon she had concealed in her coat. "I'm impressed, Mrs. Wilkins," a familiar voice spoke, the tone laced with a hint of amusement. "You're a resourceful one, I'll give you that." Karen's blood ran cold, the realization dawning on her like a bucket of ice water. Asterisk, it's him, asterisk, she thought, her mind racing, asterisk, the challenge has been accepted, asterisk. As the two adversaries faced off in the eerie silence of Willow Ridge Estates, the air crackled with tension, the stage set for a high-stakes showdown that would determine the fate of this exclusive community and the reign of its embattled HOA president. The night air was thick with tension as Karen Wilkins and her mysterious challenger faced off in the dimly lit streets of Willow Ridge Estates. The HOA president's heart raced, her grip tightening on the concealed weapon hidden within her coat as she studied the shadowy figure before her. "I must say, Mrs. Wilkins, I'm impressed by your tenacity," the man spoke, his voice calm and measured. "Most people would have given up by now." Karen's jaw tightened, her eyes narrowing. "I'm not most people," she retorted, her tone laced with a dangerous edge. "I'm the HOA president, and I will not be defeated by some upstart challenger." The man chuckled, the sound low and mirthless. "Is that so? Well then, I suppose we're at an impasse, aren't we?" Karen's fingers itched to draw the weapon, to put an end to this infuriating game of cat and mouse. But something in the man's demeanor, the confidence in his stance, gave her pause. Asterisk, he knows something, asterisk, she realized, asterisk, something I don't, asterisk. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice sharp and unyielding. "What do you want from me?" The man's lips curved into a faint smile. "My name is Nathan, and I'm simply a concerned homeowner who's had enough of your tyrannical rule over this community." Karen's eyes narrowed. "Tyrannical? This is asterisk my asterisk domain, asterisk my asterisk kingdom, and I will not tolerate any challenges to my authority." Nathan's expression hardened. "Your authority," he scoffed. "You mean your asterisk abuse asterisk of authority. You treat this neighborhood like your own personal fiefdom, trampling on the rights of the homeowners whenever it suits your agenda." Karen opened her mouth to protest, but Nathan raised a hand, silencing her. "Don't even try to deny it, Mrs. Wilkins. I've seen the way you manipulate the bylaws, the way you use your security team to intimidate and harass anyone who dares to speak out against you." Karen's blood boiled, the fury within her threatening to consume her. "How asterisk dare asterisk you?" she hissed, her fingers closing around the weapon. "This is asterisk my asterisk community, and I will do whatever it takes to protect it." Nathan's eyes narrowed, his gaze unwavering. "That's where you're wrong, Mrs. Wilkins. This community doesn't belong to you. It belongs to asterisk all asterisk of us, the homeowners who pour our hard-earned money into maintaining it." Karen's grip on the weapon tightened, her knuckles turning white. "Then you're just as much a threat as the rest of them," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "And I'll be damned if I let you or anyone else undermine my authority." Without warning, she drew the weapon, leveling it at Nathan's chest. "This ends now," she growled, her finger tensing on the trigger. But before she could fire, Nathan moved with lightning-fast reflexes, his hand darting out to grab her wrist in a vice-like grip. Karen gasped, the weapon clattering to the ground as he twisted her arm, forcing her to her knees. "You see, Mrs. Wilkins," Nathan said, his voice cold and unforgiving, "I've been studying you, learning your weaknesses, your patterns, and I'm not afraid to use whatever means necessary to stop your tyrannical reign." Karen's eyes widened, a surge of panic coursing through her. "You can't do this," she cried, her voice laced with desperation. "I'm the HOA president, the asterisk law asterisk in this community." Nathan's grip tightened, a grim smile playing on his lips. "Not anymore, Mrs. Wilkins. Not after what I've uncovered." Karen's world spun, her mind racing as she realized the full extent of her adversary's knowledge. Asterisk, how could this be happening? Asterisk, she thought, her heart pounding in her chest. Asterisk scheme supposed to be the one in control, the one with the power, asterisk. But as Nathan's cold, calculating gaze bore into her, Karen knew that the tables had been turned. The challenge had been accepted, and the stakes had just been raised. The air was thick with tension as Karen Wilkins knelt on the rain-soaked pavement, her wrist firmly in the grip of her mysterious challenger, Nathan. The HOA president's mind raced, desperately searching for a way to regain the upper hand, but the realization that her foe had somehow penetrated her carefully constructed defenses left her feeling uncharacteristically off balance. "What have you done?" she demanded, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and rage. "How dare you threaten me, the lawful authority in this community?" Nathan's grip tightened, a grim smile playing on his lips. "Lawful authority," he scoffed. "Don't make me laugh, Mrs. Wilkins. You've been abusing your power for years, trampling on the rights of the homeowners in this neighborhood for your own personal gain." Karen's jaw clenched, her free hand balling into a tight fist. "That's not true," she spat, her eyes narrowing. "I've dedicated my life to maintaining the integrity and value of this community. Everything I've done has been for the greater good." Nathan's expression hardened, his eyes boring to hers with a piercing intensity. "The greater good," he echoed, his voice dripping with scorn. "That's a pretty convenient excuse for your greed and your lust for power, isn't it?" Karen opened her mouth to retort, but the words caught in her throat as Nathan continued, his voice laced with a dangerous edge. "I've seen the way you manipulate the bylaws, the way you use the security team to harass and intimidate anyone who dares to challenge you. And I've uncovered the real asterisk reason behind your obsession with maintaining this community's integrity, the kickbacks, the under-the-table deals, the outright embezzlement." Karen's blood ran cold, her eyes widening with a mixture of shock and disbelief. That's not possible," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "I would never." Nathan's grip tightened, his expression unyielding. "Oh, but it is possible, Mrs. Wilkins. I have the evidence to prove it, the bank records, the paper trail, the testimonies of the very homeowners you've been exploiting." Karen's heart pounded in her chest, a sense of dread and panic slowly taking hold. Asterisk, this can't be happening. Asterisk, she thought, her mind racing. Asterisk, he worked so hard, sacrificed so much to maintain my power and control over this community, asterisk. But as the realization dawned on her, a new emotion began to take root, a fierce, burning determination to not be defeated, not by this upstart challenger who dared to threaten her reign. Summoning every ounce of her willpower, Karen met Nathan's gaze, her eyes hardening with a newfound resolve. "Even if what you say is true," she said, her voice steady and measured, "you'll never be able to prove it. This is asterisk my asterisk domain, asterisk my asterisk kingdom, and I won't let you or anyone else take it from me." Nathan's brow furrowed, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. "You think you can intimidate me, Mrs. Wilkins?" he scoffed. "I've come too far, sacrificed too much, to back down now. I will expose your corruption and put an end to your tyrannical rule over this community." Karen's lips curled into a cold, calculating smile. "Then you're more foolish than I thought," she said, her voice laced with a dangerous edge. "Because if you think I'm going to go down without a fight, you're sorely mistaken." Summoning every ounce of her strength, Karen wrenched her arm free from Nathan's grasp, her fingers closing around the weapon that had clattered to the ground. Before he could react, she lashed out, striking him with the butt of the gun and sending him sprawling to the pavement. As Nathan lay dazed and disoriented, Karen towered over him, her expression triumphant. "This is my asterisk kingdom," she growled, "and I'll do whatever it takes to protect it." With that, she turned and strode away, her mind already wearing with a new plan of attack. "You will not be defeated, she vowed, her footsteps echoing through the silent streets. Not by this upstart challenger and not by anyone else, The battle lines had been drawn, and Karen Wilkins was more determined than ever to emerge victorious. The air in Willow Ridge Estates crackled with a tense, unforgiving silence as Karen Wilkins stormed through the deserted streets, her mind racing with a tumult of emotions. The confrontation with her mysterious challenger, Nathan, had left her shaken, her carefully constructed world teetering on the edge of collapse. He knows, she thought, her grip tightening on the concealed weapon in her hand. He knows about the corruption, the kickbacks, the embezzlement, and he's threatening to expose it all. The mere thought of losing her ironclad grip on the community she had come to view as her own personal kingdom sent a chill down her spine. For years, she had wielded her position as HOA president like a blunt instrument, trampling on the rights of the homeowners and using the system to her own advantage. But now that very system threatened to turn against her, and the prospect of defeat was simply unacceptable. Reaching her grand manor, Karen burst through the doors, her eyes wild and her breath coming in ragged gasps. Summoning her legal team, she laid out the situation, her voice laced with a desperate, almost unhinged edge. "We need to find a way to stop him," she declared, her gaze burning with a feverish intensity. "I don't care what it takes, blackmail, intimidation, even physical force if necessary. I will not be defeated by this upstart challenger." The lawyers exchanged uneasy glances, their faces etched with a mixture of uncertainty and trepidation. They had seen Karen Wilkins in many moods, but this level of desperation and fury was unprecedented, and it sent a chill down their spines. "Mrs. Wilkins," one of the lawyers began cautiously, "perhaps we should consider a more diplomatic approach. If we can negotiate with this Nathan character, maybe we can." "Negotiate?" Karen spat, her eyes narrowing to slits. "I don't negotiate with those who dare to defy my authority. This is my domain, my kingdom, and I will do whatever it takes to protect it." The lawyers fell silent, their protests dying on their lips as they recognized the futility of arguing with the HOA president in this state of mind. Resigned, they set to work scouring the archives for any legal loopholes or technicalities that could be exploited to neutralize the threat posed by Nathan. But as the hours ticked by, it became increasingly clear that the path to victory was not as straightforward as Karen had hoped. The evidence Nathan had uncovered was damning, and the legal avenues were rapidly closing off, one by one. Frustrated and increasingly desperate, Karen turned to more unconventional means of dealing with her adversary. She called in favors, tapped into her network of shady contacts, and even considered hiring a private investigator to dig up dirt on Nathan, anything that could be used to discredit him and silence his challenge once and for all. The streets of Willow Ridge Estates became a battlefield, a constant game of cat and mouse as Karen and Nathan maneuvered and countermaneuvered, each determined to emerge victorious in this high-stakes power struggle. The community became a tense, uneasy place, the residents caught in the crossfire of a conflict they barely understood. And through it all, Karen Wilkins remained steadfast, her grip on power tightening with each passing day. She would not be defeated, not by this upstart challenger or anyone else. This was her kingdom, her domain, and she would do whatever it took to protect it, even if it meant resorting to the most unscrupulous of tactics. As the sun began to set on another day in Willow Ridge Estates, Karen Wilkins stood at the window of her manor, her gaze sweeping the streets below. The battle lines had been drawn, the stakes had been raised, and she was more determined than ever to emerge victorious. "This is my kingdom, she thought, her expression hardening with a steely resolve. And I will not be unseated, not by Nathan or anyone else, The war had only just begun, and Karen Wilkins was prepared to fight to the bitter end to maintain her iron grip on the community she had sworn to control.